There is a growing belief in the church, the Adventist church. It's very common in the black churches. That the louder the music, the noisier you are, the more effectively you're worshiping God. We associate noise with worship.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Balanced View YouTube channel. I'm your host Justin Tobias, and I'm excited to announce that I have a new co-host, my very own lovely wife, Alexis. Say hello.
Hi, I am Alexis Tobias, and I'm happy to be joining the Balance View.
All right, so I figured the best way for me to be balanced is not only to have the Holy Spirit on my side, but to also have my wife who always strives to keep me balanced and keep me from saying some crazy stuff. So anyways,
You might have to
happy.
save me from
Well, yeah,
saying
well,
the thing.
yes,
Balance each other.
we balance each other. Amen. And
Amen.
if you're wondering what this curly hair is, that's my son CJ. Hey, say hello. He told me no.
He said no.
That's
It's
our
CJ.
1-year-old CJ. Say hello, CJ. So he's gonna help us be balanced too.
No.
All right. Anyways, so in today's video, as you can see in the title, we're going to be discussing a sermon done by Randy Skeete, who he's addressing music in the church, and we're gonna just react to it and give you our thoughts, and hopefully it's edifying and beneficial to you. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into the video.
There is a growing belief in the church, the Adventist church. It's very common in the black churches. That the louder the music, the noisier you are, the more effectively you're worshiping God. We associate noise with worship. The Bible says, whether therefore you eat or drink, whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. The question always has to be, is this for God's glory? Not, is this for my culture? Is this, now cultures vary, don't misunderstand me, but is this for, but we have the same God. Is this for God's glory? Let me say something to you that's complimentary. This Sabbath, I was listening to what was going on. I felt as though I was in church. I had an experience different from the world. I wasn't in a stadium with people making noise. I was in a church. The music, the behavior, the orderly service, I was in church. That's how I felt. If I were walking down the street and I heard the singing, I would know immediately that is a church. Of course, there are cultural differences. The music that is fit for a church is music that is designed for God's glory, music that points the mind to God, music whose lyrics teach biblical doctrines. Are you following me? And music designed and created for the glory of God. Not secular music to which we put so-called spiritual words. Are you following me?
All right, go ahead.
I had one slight thought. I disagree that it should be done. Oh, no. I said that wrong. I agree that it should not be done.
Okay.
However, it has been done for a very long time.
Oh, and in terms of taking secular music,
Yeah.
and adding like Christian lyrics to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wish that if we're going to say it, continue to repeat that as a thought. But we do have a couple
Yeah, there are some hymns
hymns that
in our hymn book that were secular songs, and that someone added Christian lyrics to it. So yeah, I see what you're saying. That
Yeah.
has been done. Could you make the argument that it's more difficult today?
yes. What do you mean more Wait, what do you mean by more difficult?
Is
today?
it more difficult today to take secular songs, like I guess what he referenced, like Beyonce, or from or
Well, he's getting ready to
specific or yeah, I think he's going to, or specific genres, taking secular music and turning into like gospel or Christian songs? Is it more difficult today?
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think it should be done at any point in time or period.
I don't know.
But I do see the issue with doing it, I guess, contemporarily, because people's minds will then drift. And I think that that's his point, is when we're in church, our mind and our focus should be on Christ. And so taking any clip or snippet from any secular song for anybody can trigger our minds to go outside of the church.
I would say, I wouldn't say in all cases that it can't be done, or I wouldn't say that.
And
I think
too.
specifically if you take a really popular song
Yes. Yeah.
and try to do that,
Yeah.
it's just not going to work, because that song is popular for a reason. It gives a certain feeling, a vibe. It is. I'm just saying, it gives a vibe, and it gives it produces a specific, just reaction to it. So yeah, I think in that sense, it probably shouldn't be done, because that song is known for what it's known for.
Right.
Versus maybe, again, if it's just a secular song that maybe the lyrics itself kind of flows well as a religious song or a spiritual song, but you tweak the lyrics and boom, it fits.
Yeah.
So I don't think it can't be done at all, but definitely that's something that you got to be wise about.
Yeah, and I think as a brother, as someone who has family members that are musicians, also, I know that it's also common to even tweak the music. I think if you're going to take it, then also tweak the music. Don't just tweak the lyrics.
Right.
But yeah, that's my take.
Okay.
You take who are the popular singers in the United States? You take some Beyonce song and you put some church words to it and you call it church music. That which is for the service of God must be different. By the way, you can go online and get Seventh-day Adventist philosophy of music. Read it. You know, music affects the cells of the body. Certain beats can affect the cells of the body. Really can. The experts who talk about that, I'm not that. Go online, look for Seventh-day Adventist philosophy of music, and read it. Go on YouTube, how does music affect the body? You'll be surprised. In Daniel 3, when Nebuchadnezzar called everyone to kneel, before they knelt, music was played, a certain kind of music, which dulled the senses, interfered with the ability to make right decisions. That kind of music, everybody bowed. If you go to a rap concert, almost all the time, fights break out. No fight has ever broken out at a classical concert. Are you listening to me? It has a different effect on the mind.
All right, so we're pausing. What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe not never, just because it's human behavior for fights to break out. But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. But fully agree that music does affect and can easily affect our actions. So that we should be mindful about our the style of music we listen to and the effect that and the emotions that they bring. That
they convey, and so obviously we can. Is it possible for a fight to break out at a classical concert? Yeah, I guess the question would be: is the cause the music? Like, does the music
invoke that
aggression?
Emotion? No,
probably not. The classical music invokes aggression.
You can play a piano real hard in some classical music. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I don't know what kind of classical music you've listened to. And that's not to say that every
is to invoke emotion as well.
Yes, but it's typically not the aggression. Not that will lead you into fighting. As someone who used to be heavy into rap music, Yes, absolutely. I know I would pick specific songs because I'm feeling angry or upset and I want to sit in that emotion. So I remember picking specific
Yeah.
songs that would breathe
Yeah.
that emotion. So I
Absolutely.
knew I was very much well aware of the types of songs. And then the same thing with like, you know, sappy songs, love
Yeah.
songs, you know, R&B, whatever. Like I'm feeling, you know, emotional or lovey or sad. That was a thing I used to do a lot. Like if I'm depressed, I put on some type of R&B song that just conveys that, and you just sit in that emotion. So I guess his point is that different types of music conveys different types of emotion. I mean,
Absolutely.
the artist knows that. That's the whole point. If you make a love song or a breakup song or a like aggressive song, that's the intention to
Absolutely.
invoke that emotion. So I think that's the point he's making there.
Yeah.
So
And I fully agree with that.
all right, let's continue the video.
Just didn't like the never.
And the church should be a place where the music takes us to God, both the tune and the words. That's how I felt personally as I listened to your service this morning. Keep the music of the world out of the church. When the Israelites were worshiping the golden calf, Exodus 32, they were singing and carrying on. And as Joshua and Moses came down off the mountain, Joshua said, there is a sound of war. That's how some churches worship. Particularly where I come from, the sound of war. The onslaught on your senses is tremendous. Moses said, no, 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 that's not war. They are worshiping. That's all I have to say on that. Okay, that's it.
Yes.
All right, so that's that. Any other thoughts?
No, I think overall the video was very clear, and the point of the video was very well described, well intentioned, and so I appreciate the overall thought of the video. And it's just that my main takeaway is that the location of the music is important. The setting in which you're listening to music is important. So if we're in church, that music needs to be specifically praise and worship to God, and it should bring our minds and hearts to Christ.
What do you mean the location of the music?
So location of music. So there, I guess this is just my personal take. So my conviction specifically is that there is certain Christian gospel music that I will listen to maybe in my car or in our home, but isn't necessarily meant for church.
Corporate worship.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I understand.
And so that's just my personal conviction.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Nowadays there are different types of. I mean, I think it's the same thing with prayer, right? So we're told that we shouldn't do long prayers in public. Public prayer shouldn't be very long because it's not just you and God; it's you and the whole congregation. And then in your prayer closet, your personal prayer time, you can go for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. I've done that, but that's you and God. That's on your time. But so
Right.
there's a difference. So your point is setting. You know,
Yeah.
time and place.
Yeah.
And so I think I agree with you. The same thing is with music. There's music that is for you and the Lord,
Yeah.
and then there's music for corporate worship. And sometimes I have seen people that try to play music or perform or sing music that probably should just be between them. I'm not saying it can't be done and it can't be a blessing, but
Timing,
sometimes,
setting, like you said,
Yeah.
setting, right? Like
yeah,
they're
I think sometimes they can kind of shut out everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's literally just, again, I'm not saying it can't be a blessing, but you're in a corporate setting, so you don't want to make it about you when you're trying to bless and minister to the congregation. So do you have something else before I jump
No.
up here? Okay. All right, so I want to share this verse found in Exodus chapter 15, verse 20. This is right after the children of Israel were delivered from the Egyptians. God destroyed them after splitting the Red Sea and obviously drowning them. So in verse 20 it says, and Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. So in this worship scene, we see that there's instruments being used, there's dancing involved, obviously there's singing, and they're praising God for this great deliverance. And clearly, this is an act of worship that is acceptable before the Lord. But if you jump to Exodus 32, 17 and 18, this is what Pastor Skeete was referring to. And Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted. He said unto Moses, there is a noise of war in the camp. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it a voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. So you have a contrast between these two worship scenes. One is acceptable worship, praising God for deliverance. Another one is false worship, praising a false God, and there's just noise and chaos. Now, I always wondered if the instruments used at the golden calf was any different from the instruments used singing, at the Red Sea. And I happen to think that probably not, that it's the same instruments, but it's a different intention, different style, and totally different atmosphere and mindset altogether. Here, I can imagine the angels of God are singing along with them. Here, there's demons involved. And so it's all about what spirit is involved in your worship. And that spirit is going to lead you to how you conduct that worship, and whether it be orderly or chaotic. Notice that Moses calls it noise. If the fact that Joshua could not discern between whether or not they were at war or if it was worship tells you that it was just sheer confusion. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so that's a stark difference from what we see here in Exodus chapter 15. So I think a good way to kind of understand how should worship be done is there needs to be order. It has to have a specific purpose, not just to breathe feelings, but it's lifting your mind to God. You can think about what's being said and sung. Yes. It's not just I feel good. You should be able to use your brain while listening, and what is it causing? What is it? What kind of emotion and reaction is it causing, or bringing up out of you? Is it adoration and worship, or is it just emotion? And I guess, and that's my thoughts. But what are you have the last thought?
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to keep in mind the intent of our worship, to make sure that there is some kind of continuation in our themes of worship. So even for church services, for those who are picking songs for song service, to have some kind of communication with the minister, even so that.
Yeah, what's the sermon? What's the sermon title for today?
What's the thought of the day? What is the congregation's focus for the day?
Yes, where's the Spirit leading minds and hearts?
Yes, yeah. I think that's super important, because even if somebody gets up and does a prayer for households and the day is supposed to be focused on evangelistic outreach, like there has to be some kind of continuation in our service.
Order. Yeah, absolutely. Order. Then absolutely. I agree with that for sure. The last thing I'll say is that I do appreciate him saying that cultures vary. Yes, so there isn't one worship style for everybody. We all don't have to listen or worship the same way. But the principles of proper worship should be applied and applicable in all cultures, especially for church services. Yeah. So, but that will look different per culture, and that's okay. Yeah. But the principle remains the same. It should be all for the glory and honor of God, and not just for our selfish, I guess, purposes. So, but anyways, that's the video for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please leave a comment, like this video, share it, and if you have not subscribed already, please do so and hit the notification bell so you're notified. So you're notified when we put out our next video. Sorry, my son's getting restless, so we're gonna go now. All right, guys. See you in the next video.
Be blessed.